Good morning, comic book fan, with another fancy comic book review. Today we're going to be talking about, well, a Wolverine, a black, white, blood. A comic book that, well, the first issue I gave 10 out of 10. It was an amazing issue, number one. It was great, it was fantastic. And this issue, after many troubles, after many problems, is finally here at my place. It literally came yesterday around like 3 to 4 p.m. So, hey, it's next day's morning. It's time for the review, of course, at the time of this recording. So, if you don't know, the Black, White, and Blood is a mini-series, right? It's a 4-issue mini-series with Wolverine using the colors you see on the cover or in the title. So, Black, White, and Blood, which is literally red, right? And because of the success of the issue number one, because there was a huge success of the issue number one, Marvel is releasing, of course, Carnage in March, actually. Carnage number one, with the same theme is going to be in March. And this is kind of off heels of also the Seeds version of it, with Harley Quinn in the past, but kind of, it's right now in a trade paperback. You can get it for April. So yeah, that's cool. So those are short mini stories, usually 3 in one book, from Wolverine's past. Their stories, as Dave said, are untold, are things, from his mythos that no one talked about. And I did really enjoy the first one, because the first one had a really long one and 2 shows that really mattered, and they're like, cool, I know the characters, even if I don't, it's like, this actually works out. Here I can't say the same thing about all 3 stories. I've went through it and I didn't have the same sensation, the same feeling I had in the issue number 1. So definitely this is not as good of a book as the number 1 was, and I'm kind of scared right now for the issue number 3 and 4. If we had, we went from 10 and now we're getting way below that with this issue here. So we've got 3 stories, and they are as follows: Unfinished Business, Seeing Red, and Do We Die Today? And to be honest, I feel like the best was the first one again. Unfinished Business, Seeing Red, and Do We Die Together, like, why you even exist, to be honest. But let's start with the first one, right? We got Unfinished Business, written by Vita Ayala, with the artist Greg Land. One thing I must say, art throughout the book, it's not as good as in the first one, but it still kind of holds on its own, so definitely that is a good thing. Seeing Red is, of course, written by Saladin Ahmed, and artist Kev Walker is doing it. And Do We Die Together, Chris Claremont is writing it. Chris, come on. And of course you got Salvador LaRocca as an artist again. The last story has a really, you see, like, the problem is the art of the last story is really good, and I think is the best of the 3 here, but the story is the worst. So let's open with, of course, Unfinished Business. Again, a great black and white art, all together. You can see those, like, beautiful pages. A bit chaotic, but I mean, again, I like that style of art. I feel like it suits Wolverine. But let's take a look at the story. So the story is that, well, there was a guy that hated mutants, and he created a specific to destroy the gene X in the mutants, so literally to kill mutants. Okay, so Charles Xavier was like, Wolverine, you gotta go! And Wolverine just goes there, and he discovers that the town is empty, and the little girl tells him, like, someone took the scientist, and I won't say Raven, Wolverine goes like, huh, but there's a trail. I can't smell, but there is a blood, so I'm gonna go with the blood, and I'm gonna see where the trail leads me, and it actually leads him to the Sabertooth, and Sabertooth goes like, haha, I knew you gotta fall for that. Dude, you're getting old. I wanted you to find me, and let's fight. Because, I mean, of course, that's what Sabertooth does, right? He's his mortal enemy, so we learned that Sabertooth was sent by some organization that wants to have that specific that this doctor created for themselves. So what they told me was, hey, take care of the guy, but leave everything else intact. The money is there, do it. And of course we got a really gruesome fight. Like, this art shows, like, the blood I like that because it shows that, hey, they're actually hurting themselves. They are, oh, there's something in my nose. They are cutting themselves, the blood is flowing. I like that. I do like for me, that's what Wolverine books should be, a greedy books. And, you know, throughout the fight, you know, one against the upper hand and the other one is just a really good fighting sequence with slower moments where they kind of talk, and of course during the talk they're like, hey, but how did you find it? It's like, yeah, you know, I knew Charles is gonna send you, I want to kill you, and to be honest, you know, I don't care about that Gene X. Like, if I'm gonna kill you, or if that's Gene X, you know, specific that like kills you, Wolverine, and like I'm gonna die there as well, well, screw it, I will kill you finally. So you kind of see the motivation of Sabertooth, that no matter the cost, he wants to just kill and murder Wolverine. And during the fight, you know, Wolverine goes like, huh, like a spidey sense, like, huh, I've heard something. Of course, Sabertooth is losing. It's like, yeah, what you've heard, yeah, the Doctor might actually be alive. I may or may not killed him. So Wolverine runs to help the Doctor. Sabertooth flees, and there you go. The Doctor is saved. Of course, he was tied to the tree. And, you know, Wolverine meets him at the hospital bed and goes like, well, it's not like I hate you, but, like, mate, don't thank me, it's just stop working on that crap, because you're just gonna hurt your daughter in the process, and we don't want that. And the Doctor goes like, cool, okay, scene, end of the story. That's how the story ends. It's a cool sequence, and it's a cool battle in between, you know, Sabertooth and Wolverine. Again, the art is not as good as issue number 1. It's not the best from here, but the art on its own, you know, in the way it shows those things, it deserves a nice 8, right? Story, well, I mean, it's like, you've ran out of ideas, let's do that. Then we move on to a shish kebab, which is Seeing Red. That's story number 2. So we've got, of course, Wolverine eating a shish kebab. That's going to be his second one, but he's turned out to be poisoned. And, well, he is being kidnapped by the arcade. He wakes up, of course, in this arcade kind of like, because like if you remember Arcade from the comics, like he was doing those traps, those labyrinths that had an exit, but you know, you had to go through it and you could have died there. And he was like, well, you see, like my assistant, you know, had to like put all those Wolverine clothes on you. Well, you're really hairy. And, you know, Wolverine is pissed off and goes like, well, I'm gonna kill you. But he was like, no, you're not gonna kill me. You have to do this labyrinth because I've actually kidnapped the waiter that gave you the poison. Well, I gotta convince him too, because, you know, I said I'm gonna kill his whole family. And if you're gonna, like, fail or kill enough of the robots, yeah, it's gonna kill the guy, you know, the waiter that is in the cage. And goes like, oh, you son of a bitch. So we have this meter at the bottom right there, right? You see it kind of fills. So if, like, every time Wolverine kills, right, the meter fills. And the idea is if the meter is gonna fill up, then of course the waiter dies. But Wolverine is like, well, screw that, like, I am a freaking Wolverine, like, I can dodge stuff, but at this point, I'm an animal, like, they're hurting me, fuck it. Like, that's what Wolverine says. Again, this is a plus 18 book, so I'm not gonna be like, oh, you know, no, this is a parental adversary book, so I can't swear. So Wolverine goes like, screw it, I have an idea. So he literally just runs through everything, kills everything, wrecks everything, and takes the cage, like moves it a bit front so the cage will drop to the water as the acid ground is hurting his legs. Of course, he has a healing factor, so he doesn't freaking care. So we see, you know, Wolverine's legs being like torn apart, destroyed. And he goes like, cool, bub, I've saved you. Now I'm gonna go and kill the arcade. He tries to kill the arcade. Well, that's a robot. And he goes to he takes the kid back to his parents and goes like, well, that kid is scared for life. And I'm hungry. Cool, lighthearted story. Again, that's it. Like, there was nothing to it. The art was really good. I mean, I know I say like the art is not as good as the prison, but it's still quite good. It's like, you know, you'd go to a Da Vinci and you go like, your art is cool, but the Michelangelo is better. It's still a masterpiece, but you know. And then we go to the was it Chris Claremont story? Yes, the Chris Claremont story. And you can tell that this is kind of his story. And I mean, I like Chris Claremont, but give the man more pages, because that's like you get shot with wall of text, and it's kind of nuts. So we go to the Wolverine that you probably know, when he was the Patch, right? So when he was in Japan, he was wearing a tuxedo, he wore the patch, and he was called the Patch. And he is there standing in a bloody mess with in the Princess Bar with Kat. That is Katie Pride, and they are there because one of their friends got kidnapped, and the woman Sanzu kidnapped the woman that they are actually here to save. So they're like, well, listen, you have no more powers because I've taken them. I'm this like evil goddess. Those are my two henchmen. Go. So first henchmen are like beating them slowly. They're like winning, and then Wolverine gets pissed, literally shoves his fist right here to one of the henchmen's face. Again, their names are not important. Goes shink. The guy not dies because also has a healing factor, so he's like traumatized. And I mean, this is literally the whole thing. The whole time they just battle it out, right? Like that's the moment where he kills him. It's like, cool, so you've passed my test, now we can hang out, now we can talk business, and actually thank you for helping me, because mutants are having rough. That's literally what the story is about. They just went, save, go back. Not good. Art, amazing. Like, the fighting scene is really good, and it's worth it for the fighting scene alone. Like, the colorist just done a perfect job, and the art itself is really good. But this whole thing of like, you see Wolverine, you're too slow, you're losing, and then he just like murders the guy. It's what you want from a Wolverine, but Chris, like, you can't pack, because there's a wall of text that don't matter. It's like, you can't do this because of this. Like, they try to explain the situation where overall they like try to give you the context why this is happening. What, like, even them giving you that context is not enough for you to care about that story, because it's like, yeah, I get why they're there. It's like, I don't care, because I will never see anything more what happened next and what happened previously. I would never see that again. So don't give me like a fight scene from a middle part of a whole series of books, because like literally I think that the Chris Claremont story feels like a part of a bigger one that could have been, right, like a what if. And if they would probably give a whole issue to Chris Claremont, we would have this whole thing. It would be great. But it's like, right, it's kind of like a nice short story. I mean, I don't like short story books in general, but this kind of shows my problem. It's like, you have 5 pages. Like, actually, how many? 1, 2, 3... Yeah, you got like 7 pages. Do it, Chris. And it just doesn't cut it, it's not, the story that he told is just not for the format of the short story. It is for at least for one whole issue, not for few pages. So that's my problem. Overall, the book is not that bad, but reading right now King in Black tie-ins, that, like, for example, the tie-in with Doctor Doom and Iron Man, even in comparison to that, this book falls flat. If I would be judging the book by the art, that would be a 9 out of 10. Still, amazing art. Like, just for the art, it's worth a buy. Honestly, the art is gorgeous, just like in the first one, but then the first one is better, so the art is 10 out of 10 there. Here, solid 9. But the stories overall, like, you're gonna like have like one laugh about this shish kebab, like, he does like literally bub only once in this whole book, so I'm like, come on. But of course that's over exaggerating, but yeah, he says only bub once. I've counted. It's a mediocre book. Like, it really is. Unfortunately, the art is gorgeous, and I wish they would be able to tell the better story, and the story is just, it's a 5 out of 10 book. I'm sorry. And it's a 5 out of 10 because of the art. Like, I'm being really generous. I've read it, I've put it down, and I was like, I don't even want to go back. Like, even right now when I'm going through it right now, I'm like, do I want to read it again? Do I like, you know, there's nothing that takes me to reading that book, which is like, I know it's a bit of sad, but oh well, it does happen. So thank you guys so much. That's a 5 out of 10 book. For the art, I think it's worth a buy. But this book is going to be in the back issues. There's like, this is not a key issue, right? So it's going to be in the back issue somewhere. You can take it. Art is gorgeous, and if you enjoy the art style like that, you're going to love the book. For the art, not for the story, right? So that's why it's 5 out of 10. So thank you guys so much for watching. Goodbye. Good night. Have a fantastic rest of the day. Take care. Bye.